In this lesson, which is topic section 2.1, we are going to learn how to solve two-step and multiple-step equations and write an equation that models a real-life situation. So be sure to write small and neatly since I did not give you a lot of space. Over here, you can see that we have guidelines. Make sure you read through those steps. I'm going to automatically use those when I show you how to solve multiple-step equations. So let's go ahead and begin. And in this first one, we should always get in the habit of drawing a line where the equal sign is, because that's our balance scale. So whatever I'm doing on the left-hand side, I have to do to the right. So if you take a look at the steps, I can skip the first three, and we're going to go to step 4. I need to get rid of addition and subtraction by using inverse operations. So here I have to get rid of addition, so I am going to subtract both sides by 9. And then when I do that, this x over 6 drops down. The plus 9 minus 9 is 0. And on the other side, I get negative 1 minus 9, which is negative 10. The last step, remember that plus 0 does nothing to change the value. So I'm going to use that and cross out that plus 0. So I really have x divided by 6 here. So to get rid of division, I have to do the inverse operation, which is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. When I multiply 6 times x over 6, the 6's cancel out to be a 1. So I am left with 1x on the left equals negative 10 times 6, which is negative 60. At this point, you should grab a calculator and check your work. And to check that, you would plug negative 60 in for x. So you should type in negative 60 divided by 6 plus 9 and make sure it equals negative 1. Now I'm going to try to go a little bit faster through these next few examples. So I have to do the inverse operation of minus 6, so I have to add 6 to both sides. That means that the y over 5 drops down. The minus 6 plus 6 adds to 0, so that doesn't need to be there. And 10 plus 6 is 16. In the next step, we have division over here with the y over 5. That's dividing by 5. So I know I have to do the inverse operation, which is multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. The 5 over 5 is 1, so I am left with 1y is equal to 16 times 5, and 16 times 5 is 80. So y equals 80 is my solution. So I would check that by plugging into your calculator. 80 divided by 5 minus 6, and make sure it equals 10. Moving on to the next one. This one's a little different. I actually have to back up to the second step in our guidelines, combine like terms. I have 4x, and I'm adding 7x to it, so that gives me a total of 11 x's. So I have 11x is equal to 132. And to get rid of multiplication, I do the inverse, which is division. And I show division in higher level math with just that fraction bar. So divide both sides by 11. 11 divided by 11 is 1, so I'm left with 1x is equal to 132 divided by 11, which is 12. So x equals 12 is my answer. To check it, I would type into my calculator 4 times 12 plus 7 times 12, and make sure I'm getting 132. So that's how you would check that problem. For number 4, I'm going to combine the like terms that I see. 7x minus 3x, those are like terms because they have the same variables with the same exponents. So 7x minus 3x gives me 4x. So I copy down the rest of the problem. 4x minus 19 equals 9. And then I have to do the inverse operation of minus. So I'm going to plus 19 to both sides. The opposite of subtraction is addition. The 4x drops down. Minus 19 plus 19 adds to 0. And that doesn't need to be written. And 9 plus 19 is 28. The next thing I need to do is get the 4 on the other side of the equal sign. So I have to do the inverse operation, which means I divide both sides by 4. You should already know this, but just as a reminder, if you see 4 and then an x, it means 4 times x. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're left with 1x on the left, and 28 divided by 4 is 7, so my answer is x equals 7. And then on my calculator, I should check to make sure that 7 times 7 minus 3 times 7 minus 19 is equal to 9. So I would type that into the calculator and make sure I get 9 as the answer. Moving on to number 5, I am going to get rid of subtraction by adding 10 to both sides. I drop down the 7 over 3 times x. This minus 10 plus 10 is equal to 0, so I don't need to write that down. And then I get a 14 over on the right hand side. Now this is our work from the prerequisite information to get rid of a fraction in front of a variable. Remember, we call the number in front of a variable a coefficient. When the coefficient is a fraction, I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 over 7. So 3 over 7 cancels out to be a 1x. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to put that 14 over 1, and notice that I can cross cancel the 14 and 7. So that will cancel to be a 2 on top and a 1 on bottom. So then I have just 2 times 3 here, and the answer is 6. So my answer is x equals 6. And then on the calculator to check, I would do 7 over 3, or 7 divided by 3, times 6 minus 10, and hopefully my calculator will tell me the answer is 4. And that's how you check that one. Number 6 is a little bit tricky. What I want to show you is that the 5x is positive, and the 9x is positive. The minus sign is where the 12 is. So it's minus 12, it is not minus 9x. So when I go to combine like terms, I have 16 on the left-hand side, and then my like terms are 5x plus 9x, and that's 14x. And that might be a little tricky for some of you. So make sure you always look at the sign in front of what you're combining. We're not combining the 12, and the 12 has a minus sign in front of it. So I'm going to copy that down, minus 12. Now I'm ready to go ahead and do the inverse operation of minus 12. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Some of you might be thinking we should have the variable on the other side, but it really doesn't matter since it's an equation. So I get 28 is equal to 14x minus 12 plus 12 is 0, so I don't need to write that. Divide both sides by 14 now because that's the inverse of multiplying. So I get 2 is equal to x, 1x, which is just x. So now I grab my calculator and I check by doing 5 times 2 minus 12 plus 9 times 2, and hopefully my calculator will tell me that that is equal to 16.